You might be asking yourself, how can language experience approach really augment my program? And why are learner-generated materials more effective than, say, a standard basal text? And I think, the answer to that is obvious because the student has generated the text, and so it becomes much more personalized and easier for the student to actually read than trying to decode a text that's unfamiliar or a story that has very little relevance in their life. But to communicate well, students need to integrate their skills, not just their listening or their reading, but also their speaking skills and eventually, of course, their computer skills. So the effectiveness of the language experience is that it develops a whole language approach to language acquisition, and the vocabulary and the grammar that the student are practicing are ones that they have generated and that they are familiar with. And uh, the curriculum that is developed is personalized and contextualized to meet their literacy level and their interests in the class. So it becomes much more a personal approach. Now, we've talked about some of the methods that are used to elicit LEA conversations from ESL students, such as family photos, bringing in a family photo album, going on a field trip, or watching a video. But the question might be: is this a valuable thing to develop speaking, reading, writing with an ESL student? And then, what is the teacher's role in developing this process? So we're going to talk a little more about how the teacher integrates these activities in the classroom. In using uh, LEA with ESL students, it's necessary to focus on content and not correct grammar. The reason it's necessary to focus on content is that the student is trying to relate a story to you directly, and you want to get the story down before you do any kind of grammar correction. So, how do you measure success? I mean, is this really something that can be measured? And I think that there's a very positive success here when a student has completed a photo story with photographs, text, and voice with a overlay of their music from their country. When they're done, they're able to actually um, record and put on a CD-ROM their photo story that they can take with them and show to the class members or give to their family. So the software that is used to facilitate the process is just another layer of Sylvia Ashton Warner's LEA process. It's just a technical addition. The same process occurs whether it's with a paper and pencil or whether it's with a computer. And the skills that the students develop are literacy skills having to do with dictation and reading and writing, but also with the computer. And at times, some students aren't able to keyboard, so you have to keyboard for them, but they can certainly drag and drop and use the mouse and control the overall and general production of the product that they are producing as their photo story. I wanted to provide you an ERIC bibliography so that you can go online and research this a little bit. So these are the sources that I drew upon for this slide presentation. Again, this is just more bibliographical information that you can look up when you have time to go online. These are the websites where those articles can be found, and they can be looked up with the PDN process of finding the article online. It's very easy to locate information nowadays. This is a site where you can go and find photos to be used as a stimulus for the photo stories if the students don't have their own, or if you would like to use a story with the entire class. These are free downloads and can be used directly with LCD and laptop projector in the classroom. Very valuable uh, and can be used without cost. This next slide and the remainder of the section of this presentation will have to do with Paulo Freire's concept of participatory problem solving. And in this section, I'd like to focus on what are the learning styles that improve a student's integration of language acquisition in the classroom. In other words, uh, what can help the student uh, become engaged? And students uh, are faced with issues, especially ESL students, that oftentimes are overwhelming in their lives, and school is secondary to what's really happening in their lives, whether it be housing or health or some issues with their kids or transportation. And so these are issues that oftentimes interfere with the instructional process, but if they can be integrated into the instructional process, then students feel much more focused and can show some successful gains because they're actually learning how to do something that they need to take care of on the outside anyway. So students become much more effective and participants in our society when they are actually doing something in school that's related directly to their needs in their everyday activities. Um, I was thinking about how important it is for students to understand that ignorance of the law is not a justifiable excuse for illegal actions such as child abuse or not following workplace policies. Sometimes they don't understand that in this country you can't use a stick on a child or a belt on a child, or they don't understand that workplace policies have to be adhered to. Um, they don't know what their personal liabilities are when they interact with agencies like schools, banks, courts, or DSHS or government agencies. They're not sure of the hidden rules of the middle class, such as expectations of time work, child rearing practices, cell phone policies, eye contact, or how to file unnecessarily on the job injury reports. They're oftentimes foreign brides who come here not understanding that domestic violence is not something that is tolerated in the United States. And they need to know how abuse is defined and what to do if it occurs. They need to know how to deal with legal issues that require them to go to court or how to obtain a pro bono lawyer. Uh, they need to understand how to maneuver through governmental, educational, and community and workplace systems and American institutions. It's very difficult if this is not a part of the curriculum for them to understand what relevance the curriculum has in their life. And so the LEA provides that through participatory problem solving. So here are some of the techniques that I have used with PPP, and I think that the students have related very well to them. Students are shown photographs that depict some aspect of immigrant life in the United States, and then they're asked to choose a photograph that they find interesting or reflects something that they have experienced. Then, then the students form small groups or in pairs and ask each other questions about the photos. And the teacher, of course, would suggest some inquiry questions. So these inquiry questions could include a description of the photograph, what you see, or a definition, what is happening, or it can be personalized into how does this relate to our lives, or it could be analyzed in some social context. Why does this problem exist? Or it could actually be suggesting some strategy for action. What can we do about this problem?